Hi, I'm Mario Guerra, the two-time former mayor of the great city of Downey. And I'm here with my co-host, Eric Pierce, the editor of the Downey Patriot. And you're listening, Talking Downey with Mario.
And Eric. How you doing, Mario?
Good, man. What's going on?
It's another city council week. We're doing our regular city council wrap up and giving our opinions and talking about things and dissecting what's happening in the city.
I do. I'm glad. Just so everybody knows, we've been dropping them every Friday. Mm-hmm. Okay, council week, like we do this episode now. This is Wednesday. Mm-hmm. Council meeting happened last night. It's the overcast Wednesday. I kind of like this rainy here in downtown Downey. But we've done other shows in between, so pay attention to the extra shows that we do. We do little snippets.
The bonus episodes.
The bonus episode. That's a good way of putting it. Why didn't I think of that? The bonus episodes. But we also got a really good one coming up about the whole child that we went there personally and did it. So that's coming up too. Right. But every Friday you can count on a different show, and it'll always drop. So we're getting good comments about it.
We are. This particular council meeting, I want to ask you about a few things. You know, it's interesting because sometimes you'll read the agenda and you'll think, there's not much going on this week, but there really is. If you kind of read it and see what's going on, there's some important work going on. One thing that stood out to me, I want to ask you about, it's something called a Spend Local marketing campaign. Yeah. And what it is, it's the city basically kind of rebranding their Discover Downey brand. Right. And you know about this because you were part of it. But they have this Discover Downey brand on social media. They're going to rebrand it into Spend Local to encourage people to spend local, keep their money within Downey. Right. Before we get into that, I want to talk to you. You were part of the team when you were on the council that created Discover Downey, right?
Yeah, and the logo too.
And the logo.
Yeah, right.
What's the backstory there?
So Dr. Roger Brosmer and I, we were the subcommittee for the branding. We did that for 3 or 4 years. Mm-hmm. We hired all these consultants and everything else. I'm telling you, we saw thousands of logos, thousands of ideas. We actually did a survey of the residents and outside the so it was a process. We did a process. But at the end of it, we were sick and tired of it. Nothing resonated with Downey. So Brian Psyche, our economic development director, and we brought in Gabe from State Gallery, and we literally took Gabe's Big Apple computer into my campaign office over on Firestone when I was running for Senate. I'll never forget this, him walking up the stairs with this Big Apple computer and the wire dangling and me laughing at the whole thing. We said, we're not leaving here till we come up with a logo, okay, and the concept. So what we did was exactly that. We all put all the things together. And if you look at the logo, there's special meaning on everything on the logo, okay? And Roger didn't like that. I didn't like this. Gabe wanted to make it like a little devil pointing. No, on there, let's go back and forth. We ordered 4 pizzas. We were there for 4 or 5 hours. Mm-hmm. And when at the end, we came up with this. And the neat thing is, I mentioned at the 150th, look at the logo. The Discovery Downey was about exactly that. There's so much untapped potential here. So it was a basis for discover sports, discover our schools, discover our shopping, discover downtown.
Culture.
Yeah, culture. But he was using the Discover Downey in the logo. Mm-hmm. The logo is special. Okay, the logo has 3 different columns in it. Okay, those are the things that we thought were very important to our city. Mm-hmm. Number one is the first one is our public safety, police and fire. We thought that was super important. Mm-hmm. The second one on there was our school district. Okay, that we have our own school district. So those are awesome. The third one is us. The citizens, the residents of Downey. We have 40 churches, we have 14 service groups, all those different things. So those are the 3 columns. The D looks like a road, okay? It looks like a road because we always say all roads lead to Downey, right? It's not finished. The D is not connected. Look at our logo. Because we're unfinished work, okay? The Downey is future unlimited, but we're not done yet, okay? Then it comes in a box for the 4 corners because we have 4 freeways. So we thought all this fits into who we are. It's the branding. And then there's a swoosh representing our aerospace history. So that's the logo, okay? So it was Brian Psyche, Gabe, and myself and Roger Brosmer. So we are the four that came up with this. And then we went to town with it. So Discovery Downey came in 2014.
What came first, the logo or Discover Downey?
The logo.
The logo.
The logo on
first,
there, because
then
everything
Discover
flowed
Downey.
from that.
Got
And I
it.
can tell you, we have all the different variations on it. And if you look at the street, we even put a couple of bike racks in downtown Downey that's just the D.
Yeah.
Okay, we made them out of metal. There's one right there. There's one out in front of Porto's on there. So we started rolling it out in 2014. So by the way, so I listened to the council meeting last night when they were talking about this, and there's nothing wrong. We got very good people. I like the new people at City Hall. But they said Discovery Downey started in 2016. It didn't. It started in 2014. So there's some institutional knowledge that's missing there, and that's not their fault. They weren't there. Okay, some of the people even said that.
The logo's beautiful. It still feels fresh.
Yeah.
Almost 10 years later, it
Yeah.
still feels brand new.
Yeah.
It's cool to see it you see it on the bus, you see it at facilities.
Yeah.
It looks really good.
Yeah.
So the logo's not going to change, but the content on the Discover Downey page is going to change to
Right.
kind of highlight businesses, local shopping opportunities, the importance of shopping locally. Do you have any opinions? Does it bother you changing the tone of
No. What see, the cities, and the city manager Roger Bradley said last night, cities have notoriously been skeptical of highlighting a business because then you're taking sides. Okay, but so this kind of contradicts that, because you want to highlight new ribbon cuttings, new businesses opening up. You want to give them a little shove, okay, a little push on there. The one thing I didn't agree with, so it came up about, when we start this campaign, let's have the city council members, one putting gas in, one doing that. Let's videotape them to encourage it. So that's a gray line there, because cities shouldn't be having their elected officials. There's a rule of how many times like a mailers they can do. If you notice on our Parks and Recs book, it just mentions who the city council is, but there's nobody featured in there, because then you're almost like politically giving Eric a leg up over Mario, or something like that. So that's really icky by using them in the campaign, but that's up to the city to do.
It's interesting. So I'm not a huge fan of this. This is my opinion. I think so. I don't know when it was, but it feels like a couple years ago, Discover Downey, the content just kind of went away. They were just duplicating content from the City of Downey Instagram page or whatever. I feel like if the original intention of the Discover Downey brand was kept up, it would do what we're trying to do here with Spend Local. Like it would do it if we just highlighted places in Downey. That by itself, I think, would motivate people to shop here in Downey. We have so many unique restaurants and places, the Space Center, all the places at the Promenade. We have lots of really good independent mom and pop places here in Downey that could be highlighted. I don't think you need to call it or rebrand it.
But see, there's the one thing you just said. So Spend Downey, the Space Center shouldn't be part of Spend Downey, because you're not spending. That's in Discovery Downey.
Exactly.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So I do think the Spend Downey is highlighting places to spend your money, which Discover Downey is part of that, plus much more.
Sure.
That's what I'm saying. I think there's a lot of cohesiveness in there, but
There
Discovery is bigger.
I think it is bigger, which I think is a better approach. I feel like Spend Local. The word spend, I'm not a fan of. It sounds a little bit too cheap, too materialistic.
You're not the only one. The council debated last night where they used the word shop.
Sure. It's a little bit softer.
Yeah.
It's softer, right? Spend, it sounds like a money grab, right?
Yeah.
So, but I would have preferred just keep it Discover Downey, but more of an effort into that content and create.
See, I like
content.
it both, because I think you can do both. I think you do the Spend as a subsidiary, or lack of way of putting it,
Sure.
or just to the side of Discover. I think you need both. Discover the whole city, and then Spend locally or shop locally on there from that. So I think you could do both. I wouldn't. The whole thing comes down to effort. Who do you have running it at City Hall?
100%.
So yeah,
because I've looked at some of the examples, like the example post that they gave to the council, And honestly, they were pretty bad. They're just so generic, which is what I didn't like.
Yeah.
You can tell they use AI to create the text.
Oh, really?
And you can't do it. I see that stuff every day. You can't do it.
Yeah.
You need to talk. It's going to take effort, you said.
Yeah.
It's going to the places and talking to the owners and finding like the heart and soul of the people.
Yeah.
You know, what makes it special. You can't just assume that people know. And I think, you know, showing somebody, you know, pumping gas, I don't think that's going to be, there's no heart to it. You know, like I see the point of what you're trying to do, but show the people, you know, show people why it's important, what makes Downey special.
Yeah,
and I think it's going to take effort to do that.
I think they need to bring out, there was a great video that we did for the city on Discovery Downey, and it starts with Dr. Mary Stauffer, her shoes and her walking out and picking up the Downey Patriot on her front porch.
Yeah.
And then all the different things, Discover Downey, blah, 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 blah. I didn't make the video because of that whole thing about being on the council, right?
Right.
On purpose, we all said, okay, none of the council members get to be in this video. But we had Brian Psyche, Judy. We had a lot of people in Downey and it was great. It was just well done. I think they need to bring that up, and I think it's still applicable. We got to find that. We got to put it on the show sometime.
Sure.
'Cause I think it's applicable still.
Because Discover Downey, look, you and me know, I think our listeners know, that Downey is a special place, right? Nobody would disagree. You can live anywhere that you want to live, but you live in Downey. The question is why? Why do you live in Downey?
Yeah.
And I think we all have our special reasons,
Yeah.
and Discover Downey is an outlet to give those reasons.
Yeah.
What makes us special than every other community?
Yeah.
What makes us different from Norwalk or Southgate or Whittier?
Right.
Like, what's the heart of it? What makes us unique?
Yeah.
And I think that's how we kind of convey that message.
Yeah, I think it's good. Good. Well, we have a little bit. I think we agree generally, but I think just on the different. No, they're not spending a lot of money on it, which that tells me something. But I think put somebody in, like we used to have Judy, and then we had some other staff members at the city that were just great at following up and doing that.
Right.
So I think they just need to get more people to do it and follow up. Now, I'm telling you, I am impressed with the management there, the city manager, the assistant city manager, some of the department heads. I love our new city attorney now.
I do too.
So yeah,
I saw him in action.
Yeah,
and he's forceful.
Yeah,
but respectful.
Yes.
And I like that. I really
Remind
do.
me later. We'll do another show. We'll talk about the planning commission last week.
Yeah,
because we had to clear it out. The gadflies were there.
Yeah, he's not a wimp.
No,
at all.
I like him. Well, he's from Downey.
Him. Yeah.
We'll do another show on that. We'll talk about that. But that's another story.
I've never gotten excited over a city attorney.
I know. So we got to tell him that, and we got to have him on the show sometime. Yeah. Oh, so now that we did that, so I'm not even going to mention his name, but one of the gadflies that came up there, and at the end, and they use cuss words and the whole thing, but one of the gadflies on there, his first name is Juan. He comes out, and after he gets done, and you, Gara, your podcast, nobody watches your podcast. And as he's walking away, I said to the rest of the planning commission, I go, well, at least he watched it once. Or he said something like, your podcast is stupid.
Yeah.
So, okay, you watched it, at least to know that. I just thought that was, I
hope he subscribes.
I know. we got to, can we find out who subscribed? I don't know how we do that. Anyways. All right, so what else happened last night?
Oh, man, I don't even have my notes in front of me.
I do.
You do?
So there was a couple things. Here's the council's comments, and I thought they were important to bring up. So Mayor Pro Tem Trujillo brought up a couple of things. He asked to look at a dog park in South Downey. They've been looking at that. I remember we started the dog park there, Dave Gaffin and I, here at Real San Gabriel, and it was a big success on there, and that was on there. And we named it after Dave, and that was something that I think the community likes that.
How hard is it to build a dog park?
You just need the space. You need the funding's not a lot. You need for the fencing on there. You can put grass all you want. It's going to turn into dirt,
right?
And then you need to have a water facility there, and so it's not as expensive. You think you just need the land.
No, yeah, it's minimal, right?
Yeah,
so I don't know why it hasn't happened yet.
I don't know. I think maybe because we got new people. and
Right.
stuff like that. But that's he wanted to follow up on that. He asked for a community garden and the follow up on that. I'll tell you, I pushed for a community garden. That was on the agenda for us to do. And actually, Brian Psyche, our economic development director, he sat down with me and Gilbert Levis, our city manager there, and they thought, there was liability issues, there was upkeep issues, there was land issues, there was a lot of different things, and it was becoming unpopular in some cities that did it.
Right.
We looked right next to the golf course, Rio Hondo. If you go north of Rio Hondo, next to the riverbed, there's a lot of grass area there with the power lines.
Okay.
So we looked at having it underneath that and stuff like that. But then the residents there on that block complained about parking and stuff like that. You and I go there on Tuesdays and Thursdays to go look at our tomatoes.
Right.
So that became it. So it got to be too hard. So I hope they pull it off. I think it's a great idea. It's something we tried 12 years ago.
Yeah.
So, but good for him for waiving on there. The one thing he also brought up about waiving the YMCA fees for the building requirements and getting rid of the requirement that all new things in Downey has public arts ordinance and so forth. So I don't know what the fees are. I'm conflicted out because of the YMCA. I serve on the YMCA board and I want to get this done. But what do you think about waiving the fees for it?
Interesting. So I'm a former YMCA board member. I don't know. Like, I guess my question would be, what are the fees? How much are we talking?
I think it was in the $15,000 range.
It's significant, right?
Because they built new big buildings.
I don't know. I think we're going to talk a little bit more about this, but the city council recently, earlier this month, said that they were kind of adamant about no more fee waivers. But how do you say no, right? Because you're going to have an organization like the Y.
The Y, that's all community people. It's for our kids. There's a public service for the city,
right,
and so forth. Well, let's get into it because there was one of the other agenda item was for Bastards Cantina. They have a nonprofit there that every year they close down the street. I think this year is to make it bigger, but there was about $9,000 in fees, and they were asking the city to waive it. But the one thing that came up, they still owed $2,000 and something from last year.
$2,400.
Right. And the year before that, they barely paid it up last year and stuff. So, the mayor says, again, where do we stop? And Councilman Hector Sosa said, this is for veterans. We need to help our veterans and so forth. This is a nonprofit. So I think they finally, after discussion, is like, where do you stop kind of thing. And the discussion ended up being, I think that they recommend to waive half of the fees as long as they came up. So that's $4,500.
And that's the weird part because it's hard to waive fees for them when they still owe money from last year. They have an outstanding balance of $2,400.
Yeah.
That made it kind of weird.
Yeah.
But you're right because you're going to have these organizations come to the city, and how do you say no? And I get it. It's veterans.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be the person to vote against veterans.
Of course. The one thing that keeps coming up is like, okay, it doesn't cost us anything. We're just waiving fees. On some of these things, it does cost us things. It costs us to have 3 police officers there. They're getting overtime pay. The city has to pay for that. So it is money out of our pocket. There's certain things, the trash fee or all this some other things that you can waive that maybe don't cost money. But if you have staff, public works, and you have police officers there, that's real money. That's not just waiving the fees. That's waiving.
And that's part of the conversation because, I'll say this, like at the Fright Carnival in downtown Downey, there was private security and there was also Downey police. It almost seems a little excessive.
Yeah.
Right. And I get it. It's public safety, but it's a cost burden, and if we have public safety and police, it seems like it's duplicate coverage,
Eric,
right?
I'm going to ask you a question that I'm embarrassed to ask you. What is the fright thingy you just said?
Fright Carnival. So it was downtown Downey. It was vendors. There was like a carnival, like a spooky carnival thing. There were people in costumes scaring people. So
when was this?
It was last Saturday.
Oh,
last Saturday.
I didn't know.
Yeah, it was activities. And have you ever been to Not Scary Farm?
Yeah, kind of like that.
The performers go around and scare you.
Yeah,
it was like a very light version of that.
Yeah,
but it was nice. A lot of vendors, food trucks, and it was a really great event.
Interesting. Yeah.
Something that I haven't seen in Downey before.
Yeah,
so it was actually nice to have here.
Interesting.
But there was a lot of security.
Yeah,
a lot of mandated security.
Yeah.
And I saw 4 Downey police officers there too.
Right.
And it seems a little excessive. But
Okay.
I get it. But
Well,
but that's
talk-
part of a broader
Okay.
discussion.
Only because I'm old and I forget. Remind me later to tell you about the police that I at Ojos Locals the other day. Okay, and I didn't go in. I was
You
with
didn't
my
go
wife.
in?
Anyway,
Okay.
but
Okay.
that's another. It's a great story. Okay,
Okay.
so okay. So we talked about it. Councilman Hector Sosa brought up the Pets for Vets. He's on the SIACA board, and that's something that we used to have. You get a pet, and we pay the fees to give it to a veteran. And he actually wanted to expand it to public safety, a retired police officer or so forth. And it's minimal cost, and it's a great idea. So he wanted to bring that back, we talked about all these different things. So so that was good.
At what point, kind of on the topic, but SIACA, I feel like we need to have a conversation about SIACA. And, first of all, their hours are extremely limited if you want to adopt an animal.
Yeah.
They're open from like 2 to 6 or something, Tuesday, like in the weekdays. Or
Only a couple of
whatever.
days a week or something.
Yeah, it doesn't seem really conducive to helping the pets.
Yeah,
and
we should ask Councilman Sosa. And before that, I think former Mayor Rick Rodriguez served on it.
Yeah.
And even before that, Mayor Meredith Perkins, he's the one that helped get that thing built. But I mean, it's always changes with the administration there.
Sure.
We're one of it's called Joint Powers Authority. We're one of the cities. But yeah, you feel like it should be more accessible.
It should. When I ran for city council, one of my goals, and this is me being totally naive to how it works, but I wanted to make SIACA a no-kill shelter. Because I don't even know what the numbers are, but I've seen, people say that it's excessive, the number of animals that are put down there. And I don't know what the numbers are.
Right.
But it would be nice I just feel we need to have that conversation about how to improve.
And that makes
SIACA.
sense. We used to also get blamed a lot when I was on the council because the LA County shelter is here physically located just to the edge of Downey over there off of Garfield, right? So when bad things happen there, the Downey shelter, Downey, you guys need to do something. It has nothing to do with Downey.
Right.
SIACA, we can have some control over because
Sure.
we're one of the 7 cities. But yeah, so people confuse this a lot with the LA County.
And have you been to the LA County facility?
No, I haven't.
It's last time I was there, it's not a good facility.
It's sad.
It is sad.
Yeah.
SIACA at least feels modern. It feels newer.
Yeah.
Yeah, the county shelter is
We
really
wanted
depressing.
we wanted to open up, the back South Rancho campus, and this is a leadway. We wanted to open up that street there to go all the way through. So that whole South Rancho, that was, and Supervisor Don Canabe wanted to do that. And it was going to go right through either the shelter there or the public works yard there, but at least it opened up the street, changes the dynamic of life back there at the South Rancho campus. We almost had it, and Supervisor, and then it just didn't.
Right.
And now we're still in the same space. But that brings us to our next topic.
Yeah, so last night, Tuesday night, the city council created an ad hoc committee to address the South Rancho Los Amigos campus. Mayor Claudia Fermeta appointed herself, and also Councilman Hector Sosa is on the committee, and that makes sense because that's within his district.
I was on that committee for 8 years.
Yeah.
All 8 years that I served.
So what's the difference between what was created this week and because there's always been a subcommittee at least, right?
Right.
So what's new about this
It was, we met with the county several times. Gensler was the big national planning company on there. The county was going to build the data center for the county. Remember, the city of Los Angeles has 3 county headquarters, okay? And they wanted to build more. They own the land back there, right? So the county can do whatever it wants because they're a higher source of government. But if they want to build their office buildings and their own things on there, they just have to play with us a little bit. Now, the first Subway or the first fast food or the first little store, now you got to talk to us, the city of Downey. That's why I used to always look at it. But what happened was it became a political thing. So they were going to put the data center there, and I forgot what other headquarters. It was going to be beautiful back there, and a lot of office and a lot of traffic. And we wanted it because then we can develop it, and it could be stores, there could be food areas, and all that kind of good stuff. But it became political on the county because the rest of the supervisors didn't want one county district, and then it was Supervisor Canabe's, and now it would be Janice Hahn, to have so many headquarters. We now have the Downey, the library system for LA County is in Downey. We have our own library. That's how independent the city of Downey is. We fine. you can be here. We love you in our city, but we got our own. The probation department is here in the city of Downey, the headquarters for LA County, and also the Board of Education for LA County is headquarters here in Downey. So it was going to be the data center, and they were talking about a couple other departments. They obviously had the land, and now they seem to have the money. The one thing that they were talking about was for homeless shelters. And that would be a really no-starter, those residents back there, and it creates a whole different dynamic and stuff. So back then, we had models at City Hall of what could be, and the whole thing, the street. We worked on them, for 8 years that I was on there. We met with them on a regular basis. Supervisor Kanabe was amazing. He had his team, but we met with other department heads, the CEO of the county and stuff. So what's different now? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's good. I'm glad that they're creating it. I'm to be honest with you, I was surprised that we didn't have it.
Yeah.
Because we've always had it, and maybe we let it go because of COVID. But yeah, Hector Sosa should be on there because he represents that district, and Mayor Fermetta would be a good choice, I guess.
If it was up to you, what would you like to see on the South Rancho campus?
I think a combination of office buildings and different kind of stores. I think that if you go into housing, you create all kinds of different problems. We have other areas in housing that the city just has, the land is there, the developers are ready, and the city is the obstacle. If you talk to anybody, and maybe we'll change that. If you talk to anybody, any developer, any builder, any home builder, they're like, oh, we hate working with Downey. Maybe the new staff and the new regime on there. But we have 2 shovel-ready 40 and 40 unit, places that are open on open land, and the city is the obstacle. Has been the obstacle for years. So it's not the housing part. I don't think the county would allow housing down there that would be for market. I don't think the county would sell the land. County doesn't sell land. So if one thing that they would probably push would be affordable housing, which I guess you can always use, but for market on there, I can't see the county allowing 100 units, 10 of them being, affordable housing and 90 for, I just can't see it. I mean, it is what it is. But there's a lot of space, a lot of potential. So this isn't a new thing. This has been vacant for 30 years.
It has. We need something there.
Yeah.
And so I'll say that I would love to see housing there. I think we need housing, but I wouldn't want it to be a walkable community, almost a community within itself. And I'll use the Groves in Whittier as an example. It used to be the juvenile detention center, and they built beautiful housing, its own supermarket, stores, restaurants, and so you really don't need a car. You're able to walk and you're self-sustaining almost. I would love to see that. There's other communities where it's a good mix of retail and residential. I feel like we need housing, and I don't know what the combination is within affordable and market rate. I don't know. I think we need housing, and I think
I like the mixed use part. That's always been a good word. If you use that, I mean, it's been used for a million years. I like that, the mixed use. We started trying to create that in the downtown here, with some mixed use and so forth. What's interesting on there, because remember this had. There was a transportation element. So the Orange Line, Downey was one of the first cities, was the founding city of the Orange Line Authority, if you will. Maglev technology, where like the train in China on there, where it's magnet and it doesn't even touch the rails. It's amazing technology. I've ridden it in China on there. And so we wanted to do that from here all the way to Lancaster. And Downey, that hub was always going to be one of them. It was never promised. So now I think they changed the name, but I think there's still going to be a transportation corridor back there. That's one of the reasons we wanted to open up the street with all that. So there's all kinds of potential there.
Because wouldn't that be really cool? Like if you live there, and I would live there, and you can grab a train, assuming it's safe. Assuming it's safe. You grab a train and you could go to the west side or to the Coliseum or wherever you want to go. In theory, that would be pretty cool to be able to do. Now, assuming it's all safe and clean or whatever. In theory,
so absolutely. So, all right. I think we covered the main topics. Like you said, sometimes you look at the council agenda, well, there's nothing going on, but it's interesting. And the reason it is too, because we residents need to be informed, and now we get to see that. I think the council, I haven't talked to them about it, and I will. I get along fine with all the council people. Hey, what do you think about our little shows recapping it? And if they ever want to add something, we should ask them if they want to add something in the future.
Sure.
You know, but last night after the game, and I was on a board meeting with Financial Partners Credit Union, our sponsor. And I'm watching it. So then it's like 10 o'clock at night. I'm like, oh, I gotta listen to the council. So I'm with my iPad with my ear thing watching the game, and I'm watching this stuff on there. And it wasn't too bad. I think they had to clear the council once because there's still the goofy gadfly guy.
But you know, the beauty about the council meetings being on YouTube is that you could skip forward. You
Yes.
could skip to the parts that you want.
Yes,
So
I
it's really
skipped
nice.
all that. And you know what's funny is, and that's another show we'll have about the Planning Commission. You brought up a topic that it's getting a lot of controversy on there, but I'll tell you about the Planning Commission. We can share that another time. But the one thing about it is that people were commenting, the gadflies, okay, and they always comment, oh, you're taking away our civil rights by shutting off the camera.
Right.
No, they're not. The First Amendment says you have to have a way to express yourself to the council or to somebody else. That's great. It doesn't say anything that you need to be on camera.
No.
It doesn't even say it has to be recorded.
Right.
Okay, you can record it by the minutes on there. So now you're in front of me. You're approaching that. You get your 2 to 5 minutes. And then go away. But they're saying, oh, we need to be on camera. And now you're getting rid of us. No, you don't. These people are like goofy enough. By the way, one of them, he got banned from L.A. County for 3 years, one of the gadflies that came on there, because he made some threatening emails on top of that.
It's about time.
It is about time, because you can do so much business. Last night, it took 15 minutes for them to clear that out with the police department because of this idiot, and then going back. And the sad part, the other day when we had the Planning Commission, the same thing had to happen, and you had some lady there with her 2 kids. She came on there to complain about something. And they're using bad words. And then she even said when she came up that she goes, I don't appreciate the bad words around my kids. So it's sad. Anyway,
it's terrible.
All right, so that's a good recap, I think, of what there's other stuff.
We're going to be
coming up.
talking State of the City.
We're going to talk in State of the City.
Mayor delivers State of the City.
Yeah.
You were there.
Yes. We're going to talk about the big event. It'll be a short episode about SoFi and what happens
Downey
now.
Warren football.
Downey
I want
Warren
to hear your
football guy.
because you were there.
Yeah,
on the field.
On the
so I wanna hear
field, it
your
was pretty cool.
perspective. Yeah.
And then we'll talk also about some of the things. You wrote something up. I won't be able to talk very much about it. About some of the bars and restaurants and other things coming up around here in Downey coming up.
Yeah.
So there's some really interesting shows coming up. We try to. This one is always about half an hour. How long was this one, Brandon?
It was about
It's still going.
33 minutes.
Okay, we're at 33 minutes and haven't wrapped it up yet.
Yeah.
But most of the other ones will be 10, 15 minutes. We want to get more content out into your hands. We welcome the comments. We welcome, I know. Some of them we don't want to delete.
really.
And you know what? The one thing is, and I'm only going to mention the fact that 2 weeks from yesterday is 2 elections in Downey. We're not even going to talk about them on this show. But is it soup yet? We just want to get to that. It's really important, but we're not going to get into it on there. There's enough divisiveness in our city as it is. So, anything else you want to wrap up with?
No, good show.
Good.
We'll talk more. We have more coming up.
That sounds good. Folks, thank you to our sponsor, Financial Partners Credit Union. They do a great job in our community, and we appreciate their sponsorship to make this happen. So stay involved, stay in tune, subscribe if you haven't seen this, and keep following us. And we do welcome your comments, good, bad, or indifferent. So God bless you. Thank you for watching Talking Downey with Mario
And Eric.